Morning everybody, it's a bright and beautiful sunny morning on a Saturday and I'm here at a refuge centre. We actually do the pest control for a refuge centre, which obviously leads us on to what I last spoke about when we were talking about the population of rats in Birmingham due to obviously the bin strikes. You know, the report that I read about 2022 where the Birmingham City Council reckons there was 2.4 million rats, and you've all heard my calculations. I think we're probably in excess of 6 million and probably approaching 8 million by now. Why is that a problem? Well, the problem is because of the viruses and the bacteria that actually rats carry. So if you think about it, one rat will do on average 40 droppings a day. Now, depending on the size and the age of a rat, so a rat can live up to 3 years. So if we're saying that we're going to base everything on a rat that's a year and a bit old, so a rat dropping is anywhere between 0.25 grams and 0.85 grams, as I said, depending on size. So just for the sake of mathematics, we'll just say it's 0.5. That means one rat is producing 20 grams of droppings per day. Now, if you work on the figures from 2022, where there's 2.4 million rats in Birmingham, that's an average droppings per day of 48 kilos. That's a lot, a hell of a lot of droppings. Now, why is that important to us? Well, droppings go through several different stages. So, for example, a dropping that's a week to 2 weeks old is very black and glossy in colour. And the reason why it's glossy is because it's still got moisture inside. After the 2 week period to a month, it starts changing colour and it becomes like a matte black. And that's because the liquid inside is starting to evaporate and it's just the substance. Then after anywhere from 6 months, 12 months down the line, again it changes colour. It becomes like a dark grey matte colour. And this is when it becomes dangerous. It's at this point where it starts breaking apart, becoming a powder. Now, if you think about it, on average, most people will probably go to into their loft if they've had an issue with rats in the loft. Maybe once a year, you know, you'll get a suitcase down, you may get your Christmas decorations down. As soon as you go up there, that rodent droppings that you've had start to break down. There'll be a powder form and you're going to be walking across the floorboards where they're on, you're going to be walking across the insulation where they've been, and that powder, because of the vibration and the movement, will become airborne and you'll start breathing it in. Now, two of the main viruses are LCMV. Now, LCMV, the virus itself, is basically meningitis, so it causes an inflammation of the membrane surrounding the brain and the spinal cord. That's meningitis, basically. It's also then you've got hantavirus. Now, hantavirus has been in the press lately. Poor Gene Hackman's wife, they reckon had died of hantavirus. And the hantavirus, you contract that through the urine and through droppings. And basically what it is, it's a pulmonary syndrome, which causes death. There's another one that's called the rat-like fever. Now, rat-like fever is basically having the flu. It's the same symptoms as having the flu. And then you've got bacteria. Now, bacteria like typhi or typhus, everybody knows what typhus is. It was caused by the spread from fleas from rats to humans, almost like the plague. Not that we're going to get the plague, because there hasn't been a plague rat seen in England since 1956. So, you know, we're quite okay with that one. And then the next big one is Salmonella. Now, Salmonella will attack the food sources. So, for example, contamination of food, contamination of water, we then consume it, we then get Salmonella. So it's important that we bring a balance to the growing rat population in Birmingham, and it's been caused by obviously the bin strike. Now, when I say a balance, I mean a balance between death and birth. Now, it's going to take, they reckon, 2 to 3 years to get that balance correct, and even when they get that balance, the number of rats in Birmingham will have increased. You're probably looking at anywhere between 4.5 million of rats when we get that balance correct. It's then going to take several further years for us to reduce that population. Now, you've already heard my mathematics on, you know, how much bait it takes to kill 1 million rats, which was 250,000 kilos of bait to kill 1 million rats. So there's going to be a lot of pesticides put into the ground, out there into the public area to get these under control. There's also something called Midlands bait resistance. Now, this is a resistance that certain rats have built up throughout the years because there's been so much bait put into the Birmingham area, and so much different bait as well. So you're constantly having to adjust the bait with the next generation, you know, like a 3rd generation or a 4th generation, etc., to try and defeat the immune system that rats already have. So this is why it's important that you have proper pest control. If you haven't got proper pest control, you're leaving yourself open. If you've got a commercial property, you're not only putting the lives of your employees at risk, but you're also putting the lives of your clients at risk, and nobody wants that.